Okay, so I want to cover Spider-Man, but not Peter Parker Spider-Man. I want to cover Miles Morales Spider-Man because this series came out right after Secret Wars. Let me explain. So when it came to Miles, he first appeared in the year 2011 in the Ultimate Marvel universe. He replaced the Peter Parker of that universe, and matter of fact, he was the reason why the universe was able to survive for a couple more years. Now, 2015 hit, and we got Secret Wars. Now, when it came to Secret Wars, it got rid of the Ultimate Marvel universe, but it brought over the characters that were really popular in that universe over into the Ultimate Marvel universe. So, like Miles, the Maker, and the list goes on. Now, when it came to Miles, when it came to really Brian Michael Bendis, the creator of Miles, but also the writer of this series that we're going to start covering, his main goal was to try to fit Miles in. Because when it came to Miles Morales, he's now fighting alongside with new characters that he truly never fought along with before, like the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, Miss Marvel, The Vision, Iron Man, and the list goes on for him. And so it was really Brian Michael Bendis trying his best to figure out what he was going to do with this character in the main Marvel universe. Now, I do know for a lot of people, they honestly did not like this series a lot, but there were some folks out there who still kind of liked it and kind of liked the idea of Miles being in the main Marvel universe. And with us diving into the main storyline for today's video, we do pick up with Miles Morales arriving at a scene where the Avengers were just defeated by a character known as Blackheart. Now, Blackheart being the son of Mephisto, this is a very scary kind of scene to be coming to, because you are talking about the idea of the Avengers being easily defeated by this one guy, and now it's up to Miles to stop Blackheart, a very powerful demonic being. But then we have to jump back in time to kind of learn how in the world we got up to that point right there with Spider-Man about to fight against Blackheart. And so going back a few hours, we do see Miles Morales getting chewed out by some girl that he had apparently planned a date with, but he missed the date because he was being Spider-Man and he had to fight against the Shocker. Now, seeing this right here, it quickly reminded me of Peter Parker in his early days of Spider-Man, really his entire life, with the idea of trying to balance a normal life, but also trying to balance his superhero life, with the idea that it's very hard to date people because a lot of times the city or possibly the world needs you to be a hero. And so unfortunately, he can't tell this girl, hey, you know what, I'm Spider-Man and that's why I missed our date. He kind of has to just let her walk away and let her be mad at him for missing the date. It is not just girl problems that he is having. He's also having problems in the area of his grades. See, he's now getting some, C's and D's, and that is very upsetting when it comes to his mother. Now, I kind of want to talk about his mom real quick. See, his mom died in the Ultimate Marvel universe by the hands of Ultimate Venom, but she was brought back to life thanks to the Molecule Man at the very end of Secret Wars. And so when she came back to life, for me personally, it was kind of refreshing to see his mom alive again. Now, when it comes to his father, he knows that Miles is Spider-Man, so he understands why his grades are falling, but his dad still says, you have to fix this. Yes, it's okay to be Spider-Man, but your grades are still important. And also, you are upsetting your mother, so please get your head straight and get those grades back up. This leads us right back into Spider-Man getting ready to fight against Blackheart, because while he's in class, he does see a lot of cops and other kind of fire trucks heading towards a scene happening in the middle of the city. So he has no choice but to leave and go help out. Now, when he does arrive, the Avengers were already defeated by Blackheart. Now, when it comes to Blackheart, he is the son of Mephisto. He is somewhat of a powerful character, but not that powerful. But the problem I have with this story is that Blackheart was able to level the entire Avengers team. And now it comes down to Miles to be the one to actually stop Blackheart. Where at first he does struggle, but the only reason why he was able to win against Blackheart was to use his Venom Blast. It was a way to kind of hurt Blackheart a lot, to the point where he does retreat because he has no idea how to fight against Miles. And so it's a huge victory for Miles. But again, this man, Blackheart, just leveled the entire Avengers team, and he cannot take one Spider-Man. Anyways, right after defeating Blackheart, you have Peter Parker appear, wondering what in the world happened with the other Avengers. And so as we dive into the second chapter, it's not really more of Peter Parker being upset with Miles about what happened with the Avengers or what caused the scene, because once you have Miles explain like, hey, listen, I got here, the Avengers, they got their butt whooped by a guy known as Blackheart, but I came in and saved the day, you have Peter Parker beginning to calm down a whole lot more than what he was earlier. But you didn't have Miles realize that Peter's kind of upset because he's worried about how it could affect him down the road with Miles being around. The idea that he was the original Spider, but over the years you had all these different other characters pop up. Spider-Woman, Miles Morales, heck, around this time in Marvel Comics, you have Miguel O'Hara in the present day. You also have Silk. You also have Spider-Gwen, who appears here and there in their own universe. And so for Peter, he's more saying, there are a lot of different Spider people out there, and when you guys cause problems in the world, it somehow comes back on me. Now, while you have Miles and Peter having this conversation, you have Blackheart appear again. Now, when it comes to Blackheart, it's one of those things where it should be Blackheart winning this battle, but we're going to see Miles once again be able to take down Blackheart by just using more of his Venom Blast. And once you have the battle being over once again, you did have the Avengers wake up. Now, when the Avengers wake up and realize what Miles did, they do give him a lot of congrats, because what he did was really pretty amazing, even though he should have lost the battle. But you didn't have Peter realize that Miles is ready to be Spider-Man. Like, yes, Miles is going to run into different problems, but Miles is still ready to be a hero. And yes, those problems might come back to you, but you're his mentor. So just guide him and be there for him. And so this is really more of Peter Parker telling Miles, you have my blessing. You have my blessing to be Spider-Man in the world of Marvel Comics. Go out there and be a great Spider-Man. And so Miles leaves. Now, when Miles gets back to his dorm room, he is confronted by Genki, his best friend, who also knows that he is Spider-Man. Now, when it comes to their conversation, they begin to talk about the idea that Miles had just hit the big time because he fought alongside other members of the Avengers, but he's also on YouTube. And a big time blogger known as Danica Hart is talking about him. Now, the reason why it is so important, because when it comes to Danica, she realized that Miles' suit was partially ripped when it came to his battle against Blackheart. And so she was able to realize that he is black. Now, he's half black, half Hispanic, but she does not know that. And matter of fact, it's not her saying like, oh my God, it's a black person. She really says more, it's a brown person, meaning they could be black, Hispanic, or some other race. But it's kind of cool because he's out there representing other people in the world. Now for Miles, he does not understand why is that so crucial, but you have Genki say because there are other kids out there who kind of look up to you because of that reason right there. Either way, you have Miles kind of just go on with his night. Now, Miles' battle also played on every single news channel as well. And the reason why that is so important, because around this time in Marvel Comics, you have Marvel trying to remove a lot of their old characters and bring in new characters. So for example, Jane Foster had replaced Thor. And so when it came to Marvel Comics, or in the world of the main Marvel universe, you had a lot of people getting upset with the idea of new heroes just popping up left and right and not knowing if they're actually good or really bad. At the same time, they don't know much about them at all. And so when it came to Miles, they're wondering, can we actually trust him? Can we trust another spider being in our city? We're still trying to get used to Peter Parker. Now, while you have the news talking about that, Black Cat is watching the news and she realized that there is another spider in the world and she does not like that. But before we are able to dive more into that, we jump over to Miles going home for the weekend. When it comes to Miles Morales, he goes to boarding school throughout the week. In the weekend, he's able to go back home to his parents' house. The problem is, so when he gets home, Mom called in some reinforcement because, again, his grades were slipping. And so his mother called in his grandmother. And his grandma, like most grandmas, does not play around when it comes to your grades falling. And this grandma is very upset with Miles. And so as we dive into the third chapter, it's really more of Miles getting grounded. But not by his parents, by his grandmother, because she's very upset about the idea that her grandson is beginning to drop his grades. Now, when it comes to grandma here, she believes that Miles is doing something on the side. Thankfully, she has no idea that he is a hero, but unfortunately, she believes that he is doing drugs, or possibly selling drugs, or possibly hanging out with girls who sell drugs. Like literally almost anything she thinks about when it comes to why Miles' grades are dropping is because of drugs. Either way, she does take his phone away and then send him up to his room. So Miles is a superhero who just got grounded, which honestly is not surprising because he's only a teenager. Now, out of nowhere, the doorbell rings, and we kind of find out it's a character known as Bombshell, aka Lana. Now, when it comes to Bombshell, we met her back in the Ultimate Marvel universe. Really, she was a bad guy for Peter Parker in that universe. But over time, she became a bad guy for Miles, and matter of fact, turned good and became one of his close friends. Now, when it came to Miles being brought over to this universe, his family and his friends were also brought into this universe, including her. But when it comes to Bombshell, she's only stopping by to see Miles because they did build up a very close friendship with one another. But the problem is when she comes by, well, he is grounded. And you have his grandma and his mom tell her, hey, you can't see him, so go ahead and leave. Now, Lana is really more of a possible love interest for Miles, but she is not the only one because around this time, Marvel was really playing around with different kind of characters who could become a love interest for Miles, and that would also include Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. Now, around this time, both characters were on the Avengers, and so they kind of were able to grow a bond with one another. Now, Miles felt like it was the right thing to do to tell Kamala Khan who he was, so she now knows that Miles is Spider-Man. She even knows where he lives. And so she got worried because they were supposed to have a meeting with other members of the Avengers, but Miles did not show up. And so she goes by his house to only find out that he is grounded. Now, in the middle of their conversation, Grandma appears because she heard him talking to her and wondering, hey, who in the world are you talking to? Because I took your phone. Now, luckily for Kamala Khan, she is able to use her powers to change her size and hide somewhere in the room. But you didn't have the grandmother explain why she's doing all of this for. The idea that she's just worried for her grandson. She wants to make sure that he gets back on the right track and get those grades back up so that he is able to go to college or possibly have a successful career in something else. But either way, she does leave saying, oh, I'm going to keep your phone still, and walks away. We then jump over to Black Cat. Now, when it comes to Black Cat around this time in Marvel Comics, she was really trying to become the next kingpin of crime of New York. And so when she got word of the idea that there is another Spider-Man being out there, she realized that's bad for business. And so her main goal is to get rid of Miles so that her business may flourish. And so the one person she goes to get some help to hopefully grab Miles to learn who he is, but to also get rid of him is Hammerhead. Now, when it comes to Hammerhead, he's one of those characters I really do like because of the old PS1 Spider-Man 2 video game. But at the same time, when it comes to Hammerhead, he's always working for other people who are trying to become kingpin of crime in New York, including Wilson Fisk. And so this is Black Cat coming to him, realizing that he can really help her accomplish her goal, which right now is to just capture Miles Morales. And so you have Hammerhead agree to help her complete this job. Now, getting back over to Miles, we see him back at school in class with his best friend Genki. Now, while you have the two kids in class listening to the teacher talking about Inhumans and mutants, well, the reason why the class is discussing that topic is because they are getting a new student, somebody who used to be on the X-Men, and that would be Goldball. Now, I want to mention real quick that this storyline does take place way before Jonathan Hickman took over the X-Men. Now, the reason why I'm saying that because when it came to Goldball around this time in Marvel Comics, the only thing he could do was just produce gold balls that just bounce everywhere. Now, later on, when it came to Jonathan Hickman, he would give Goldball somewhat of an upgrade. But either way, we kind of find out that Genki, the close friend of Miles, is really a huge fan of Goldball. And the reason why, because when it comes to Goldball, it's the way his body is, his body shape. See, when it comes to most heroes, they're usually skinnier and muscular than Goldball is. And so a lot of times you have people like Goldball and Genki believing that they cannot be heroes because of their body. And so when it comes to Genki, it's a great thing that you have Goldball going out there being a hero in the way his body is, because now other people just like him can begin to believe in themselves and believe they can be heroes just like Goldball. Now you have Genki also break it down for Miles even more by saying, look at you, Miles, the world now knows that you have to be some kind of race that is dark tone. Black, Hispanic, or whatever. And so with that being said, you now have people who are just like you now looking up at you, believing that they can be just like you, a hero. And that is what heroes do. They represent different groups of people and bring hope into those different groups of people. Now, Miles, he truthfully does not understand, but you also have Genki believe that Miles needs more friends who are superheroes. And so he tells Miles, you should tell Goldball that you are Spider-Man. Now, of course, you do have Miles say, no, that is a horrible idea. But you do have Goldball walk over to talk to both Miles and also Genki. And you have Genki express how big a fan he is for Goldball, but he also tells Goldball that Miles is Spider-Man. Now, this is really a problem because the thing is, Miles trusts Genki with his secret. And here is Genki thinking that almost any hero has the right to know about the other hero's secret identity. And that's a line you don't cross. But on top of that, it was not his secret to share. It was up to Miles to share that secret. And so Miles does get very upset and just walks out of the school. Now, here's the thing, because right after that, you didn't have Genki offer Goldball to stay in their dorm room because they did have a third bed open. Now, the rest of the book is really more Miles getting captured by Hammerhead, because right after the whole Genki thing, he does go out into the city to swing around to clear his head. But unfortunately, out of nowhere, somebody does shoot missiles and tries to hit Miles. Now, at first, he tries everything he can to possibly lose the missiles, but those missiles, they stay right on him to the point where they are able to actually hit him, causing him to crash onto the ground very hard, knocking him out. And right after he does crash onto the ground, you then have Hammerhead appear with his men to go ahead and capture Miles. Now, when we jump into the 5th chapter, we do pick up with Goldball arriving at the dorm room of Miles and Genki. Now again, this is really Genki showing off the idea that he's a huge fan of Goldball. But you have Goldball tell Genki that what he did was wrong, telling Miles' secret, because it was not his right to tell that secret. It was up to Miles. And yes, Miles may be going through different things and may need more superhero friends. But again, it was not his secret to share. Now, once you have Genki realize that, you then have Genki go on YouTube and watch Danika's YouTube channel to find out that Miles has been captured by a group of bad guys. We already know it is Hammerhead. Now, when it comes to Genki, right after he finds out that Miles has been captured, well, Miles' mother calls, and his grandmother too, wanting to talk to Miles. But unfortunately, Miles is not there. And so you have Genki lie for Miles, where of course, Miles' family already knows that Genki is lying. And so you have his grandmother get very upset about how Miles is acting. And so she says she is going to hire a private investigator. And she calls out the best one in the superhero community, and that would be Jessica Jones. But getting back over to Miles, we do see Miles being chained down to a chair at the moment, where he is confronted by Blackheart and also Hammerhead. And he also has been unmasked. Now here's the thing, Blackheart and Hammerhead are trying to figure out who is Miles Morales. Like right now, she has no idea who this guy is, and she's trying her best to run his fingerprints through all different kinds of databases out there to hopefully learn who he is. But the problem is, he's not popping up at all. And with that happening, that tells Hammerhead and his men that he's probably protected by S.H.I.E.L.D. or possibly somebody else. But for the moment, we have no idea why he is not popping up in the system. But of course, you do have Miles being able to wake up and use his powers to break free and easily take down Hammerhead. Now, right after that, he goes after Blackheart to bring her in for, well, you know, kidnapping him. Now, once you have Miles being able to catch up to the Blackheart, well, you have Blackheart tell Miles why she had him kidnapped, because he is bad for business and she wanted to know who he was. Now, we already know the reason why Blackheart feels like this because of Spider-Man Peter Parker and their long history with one another. And so because of that history, when she heard, hey guys, there's a new Spider-Man out there, she began to freak out and realize it could cause her problems when she's trying to build up her own criminal empire. But either way, you do have Blackheart being able to escape. We then jump over to Miles Morales' father, and that would be Jefferson. And you have Jefferson talking to Maria Hill, who was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. around this time in Marvel Comics. Now, we kind of find out the two characters made a deal with one another about protecting Miles in different kinds of ways. But also with this deal being done, Jefferson has to help out S.H.I.E.L.D. And we kind of find out that he is now being enrolled as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. But here's the catch, because she says, welcome back to S.H.I.E.L.D., meaning that Jefferson was part of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the past, but we have no idea when. But to close on today's video, we do pick up with Miles being able to head back to school and meet up with Genki, where he tells Genki everything that had happened to him. Now, while you have the two characters talking to each other, and while you have Genki telling Miles, hey, by the way, your grandma and also your mother called, let's not forget that Miles' grandmother said that she's going to call in a private investigator. And well, she did. She called in Jessica Jones, and she's already working on following Miles Morales around. And the question is, will she tell his mother and grandmother that he is Spider-Man once she finds out? But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.